What up, YouTube? Scrubquad Pro here from the Cash Kelly and AC Network, bringing you a review of TNA's biggest pay-per-view of the year, TNA 2011 Bound for Glory. We had matches we got Metal Mayhem matches, we got the World Heavyweight Championship on the line, Hulk Hogan versus Sting, the X Division Championship on the line, feuds to be settled, and it all happened tonight. It wasn't the best pay-per-view I've ever seen, but it also wasn't the worst. So let's jump right into the matches. Alright, so Bound for Glory opened up with a X Division Championship match between Austin Aries and Brian Kendrick. This match was won by Austin Aries. Nothing too big happened. Had some good spots. Both competitors were able to be on top for a little bit, and Austin Aries came out with a victory to retain, and that was that. Next, we had RVD, Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn in a Full Metal Mayhem match. A good match. This feud's been going on ever since Destination X, I believe, when Jerry Lynn returned to possibly make a comeback in TNA. Now he's done that, and these two have been feuding for a little bit now, but I think this may have sealed it, because after the match, after RVD won, they did shake hands, and that could possibly be the seal to this feud that's been going on for a few months. But good match overall from both competitors. Next, there was a triple threat match between Crimson, Samoa Joe, and Matt Morgan. This was a relatively short match that ended up with Crimson winning, coming out on top. Now, I don't really understand why this match was so short. It was a match with such potential, because all three of these workers are good in the ring and have been working well together. I don't know why it was cut short. Maybe they just didn't feel like they had the time, or they just didn't feel like the match was very necessary. But it's whatever. Crimson got the victory. Next, we had a Falls Count Anywhere versus Falls Count Anywhere with Mr. Anderson versus Bully Ray. This feud has also been going on for a little bit, ever since Mr. Anderson rejected the Immortal Invitation, and Mr. Anderson came out on top, pinning Bully Ray. I like this feud. I think these two guys are working really well together, and they're bringing consistent ring action, which is good for TNA, who's trying to compete with bigger companies such as WWE and stay bigger than companies like Ring of Honor, is having consistent action, and these two are definitely bringing consistent action. Next, we had the AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels I Quit match. AJ Styles came out on top. Now, I don't really understand what they're trying to do with this feud. I know before Daniels left TNA, these two were feuding, and now when he got back, they're continuing to feud. I don't really understand it. I thought these guys were friends. They made fortune together, and then just all of a sudden they're just like, you know what, I want to face you in a match, and that's what they've been doing for the past couple months, and that doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, they're working well together, so it's obviously good for TNA, but it'll only work so long at a good rate, and I think that rate is slowly starting to decline, because after an I Quit match, you can't really go up from there, because I Quit matches have a ton of action and a bunch of good spots, and this one did, but I don't think they'll be able to up the ante any more than they already have so far. The main event of the night was the World Heavyweight Championship match between Kurt Angle and Sting. Now, this was the last match of the night. I skipped one earlier that I'll talk to after I talk about this match. Kurt Angle came out on top, which I don't really understand. After pushing Robert Roode, for the amount of time that he's been pushed for after winning the Bound for Glory series matches, and then to have him lose at Bound for Glory, I don't really understand. Like, he's been being pushed for months and months, and then they just have him lose. Like, you would think he would get his shot at the title, because, I mean, he's mostly a tag team wrestler, and he's not a very well-known singles wrestler, but they've been pushing him so hard that you thought he would get the win, and he didn't. He lost. I don't know what TNA was thinking there. I don't understand it. Maybe they have bigger plans for Robert Roode, but as for now, at this point in time, I think that was just bad booking on TNA. And the final match that I would like to talk about, it wasn't the main event, although I think it should have been, was Sting versus Hulk Hogan. And now before this match started, we saw Eric Bischoff talking to Jackson James, and he said that he's been with Immortal all along, and don't fail on us now. And then he calls him son, or I don't know if he called him son, but Jackson James says, "Alright, thanks, Dad." Now I knew that Jackson James was Eric Bischoff's son, but I don't think it was made clear on television that he was his son. And now it sort of opens up on why Jackson James has been the center of sort of the Immortal screwings of either people in Fortune or people going after the World Heavyweight title when someone in Immortal has it. That just opens up a little bit, which I thought was interesting that they would show. And then we had the original match itself. It was a good match, especially for the age of these two competitors. They're both in their 50s, Hogan and Sting. They've been working together forever. Hulk Hogan is actually the man who got Sting into professional wrestling when Sting was a young man. And so Sting came out on top. And then after the match, chaos starts to ensue. Immortal rushes down to the ring and starts pounding on Sting. They're punching at him, they're kicking at him, they're using chairs, whatever they can get their hands on. They're taking it to Sting. And all while this is happening, you see Hulk Hogan in the corner of on the turnbuckle. He hasn't really moved since the match ended. He's just been sitting there for a little bit, and he looks up into the crowd, and then he looks back at Immortal and back in the crowd, and then that's when it all starts clicking, and we see the return of the Hulkster, running all over TNA. "What you gonna do when HULKAMANIA runs all over you, brother?" And he starts taking it to Immortal. He clears the ring. Him and Sting start working together to clear out the people of Immortal. And then they get it down to where there's 3 men in the ring: Hogan, Sting, and Bischoff. Sting and Hogan make eye contact, and Hogan says, "Let me get this one." And then he attacks Bischoff and throws him out of the ring. And they make eye contact again. Hogan offers Sting his hand. They shake their hands, and that was that. So it wasn't the main event of the night, although I think it should have been, especially with Hulk Hogan turning back into a face. I think it's a good move for TNA to have him as a face personality, but not as a wrestler, because Hogan is in his 50s, close to his 60s. You obviously can't have him wrestling night in and night out, especially with the numerous amount of back surgeries that he's had. And Sting is 52, I believe. You can't have him wrestling night in, night out much longer. So take what this little angle will give you while you can to possibly gain more ratings, because TNA's ratings have been pretty bad for most of the life of the company. They really haven't had a breakout angle. I mean, they've had a few really good angles. Back a couple years ago, they had the main event Mafia angle, which drew me into TNA. So this has a possibility to be a really good angle, and have Hulk Hogan start up his own little team of good guys to face off against Immortal. And if I were to guess who Hulk Hogan would pick the leader of his team, I would probably say Jeff Hardy, because Hulk Hogan actually helped Jeff Hardy win the championship, his first heavyweight championship in TNA, and Jeff Hardy is now starting to get more face reaction. So I think it'd be really nice to see Hulk Hogan team up with Jeff Hardy and maybe throw Mr. Anderson in there and Beer Money and AJ Styles. So pretty much Fortune and add Jeff Hardy in there. And I think TNA may have an angle that can get them more ratings and possibly make WWE see them as a competitor, because according to Vince McMahon, TNA is not a competitor of WWE, which I think is a load of crap, but that's what McMahon says. So this gives TNA a possible chance, a lifeline, to bring ratings with the new face Hulk Hogan. So that was definitely the highlight of this pay-per-view in my opinion. Maybe you guys have other opinions. Feel free to leave them down in the comments section below. And that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed Bound for Glory. I'll catch you guys later.